Well, awesome. Just one more minute and we'll get the class started. Thank you so much for your. Well, let's get started. I have to still allow in everyone so people can join from the waiting room, but okay. Right. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Hindi University. Really excited to have you this Sunday. I know you every Sunday, 8 a.m. US Pacific time, which is the time in the west coast of the US, and we learn about the Hindi language. And I'm really excited to have so many folks in the class. For those of you who are new to Hindi University, you can learn more about us by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hindi University. You can also find more details about us in our Facebook page, which is tiny.c/university. And there you will find details about how to join the Sunday class, and also some of extra classes that we have, just like where you get to practice with some of the other Hindi students. So give me 1 minute, and if possible, please mute yourself so that way there is no background noise. I'll also okay. I'll also quickly check to make sure that everyone is muted. As you know, the classes are, and participation is completely voluntarily. You are not forced, but always encouraged to share your, Hindi practice with other students. Okay, so as you know, we've been working on a book called Teach Yourself Hindi. And you can get the copy of this book from the URL I shared with you. Teach Yourself Hindi. This book is written by Professor Rupert Snell, who is a professor at University of Texas, Austin. And as you know, we've been working on, we're going chapter by chapter in this book, and right now we are on chapter number 10. Okay. In the previous two classes, we covered a topic called subjunctive, mood. And in this class, we will be talking about conditional sentences, Hindi conditional sentences. Just to be clear, don't get intimidated if you are, by these heavy words. If you are joining new, or if you are relatively new to Hindi language, I'll try to break it down as we dig deeper into each of these topics. Okay, but this class does require some familiarity about some of the Hindi concepts that we learned in the past. Primarily, your familiarity with, some of the tenses. Okay, and as I said, still feel free to ask questions, because any questions you ask, I'm sure, there are more students who have similar questions. So that's always helpful. Okay, so let's get started with conditional sentences first, and then we'll learn about some of the examples of conditional sentences. Okay, so so when we talk about conditional sentences, these are these are basically sentences where one thing is contingent upon the other, where one thing is contingent upon the other, right? So there is a condition. So imagine you have two situations. Okay, if you make the food, I will eat, right? So those are two different sentences, but one is dependent on the other. It's contingent upon the other. If there is no coronavirus, I will travel, right? So there is one condition which is dependent on the other. Similarly, if you teach me Hindi language, I will learn. Okay, or if you are making a coffee, I will drink. Two sentences, one is contingent upon the other. Okay, the other will happen if the first one were to happen. Okay, so in these sentences, in the conditional sentences, you will see this pattern. If X happens, then Y will happen. And in English, typically there are three types of conditional sentences, and you will see the common pattern in English is like these are sentences where you are using the if and then clause, right? This is sort of in English the way it works. Like you have an if clause and then clause. In Hindi, the equivalent of that is if you have if, you will call it agar. And the way you write it in Devanagari, you have agar, and then it's to. And I'm going to write TAU, but it's to. So that's the thing you have to remember. Today we'll be learning about the conditional sentences where you will see this common pattern. If something happens, then why will happen? How do you identify them? If you see the word agar and then in the second one to, then most likely it's a conditional sentences. It's a conditional sentence. Okay. Oftentimes, if you're using pure Hindi or derived from Sanskrit, you will also see yadi, ya, and then the with e. Yadi, something or X happens, then or to, something else will happen. Okay, so let's look at some of the examples of conditional sentence. I want to give the theory first, and that way at least you get the summary of it. And once you get the gist of it, then it'll be easier to ask you guys more questions and discuss your doubts as well. Okay, so let's say you have two scenarios, which is basically if she comes, then I will cook. If she comes, then I will cook. Very simple, right? Very simple conditional sentence in Hindi. Even though it's written in present indefinite, she comes, वह आती है. This is how you will write it in Hindi. She comes is वह आती है. Okay, I will cook. Again, another simple sentence. I will cook is मैं. If I were to say I will cook food, as most of you already thought about it, I will cook food is like मैं खाना. The verb is banana, not the fruit, but the verb. Okay, banana. And you say मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. If it is coming from a guy, I will cook food. मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. If it is a girl, मैं खाना बनाऊंगी. Okay. However, when you're using these two in conditional sentence, how will this change? As I said, first thing you have to notice is you will say agar, and you have to figure out how to say she comes. Okay, then you will say to. Okay, so the first one is agar vah. Now the key thing to notice here in English, you are saying the first sentence in present indefinite, even though it's a possibility, that if happens in future, but in Hindi you will say it in future. You will say this thing in future indefinite. Okay, so you will say agar vah aayegi. You see that? Don't try to translate it one-on-one from English to Hindi. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you try to make it one-to-one translation, you'll make a mistake. So just say it in Hindi directly. This concept, just learn it in Hindi. Agar vah aayegi, or you can say agar vah mere ghar aayegi. If she comes to my house, to मैं खाना, just like as it is, अगर तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Okay, अगर वह घर आएगी, मेरे घर आएगी तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. So you see in Hindi, when you try to translate it or say it, one scenario is both of the sentences are in future indefinite. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. So I hope this is clear. Okay, I hope this is clear that what you're saying is that अगर वह आएगी तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Let's look at one more example. Okay, let's look at one more examples, and then that way, hopefully, this is even clearer. Okay, and that's what, like, Rupert Snell is also giving that example. Okay, so he's saying, which is basically 1 minute. Okay, so, and this is it may be slightly difficult example for some of you. It's on page number 129 in the Rupert Snell book, but I'm gonna just write it down so you understand, the pattern. So Rupert Snell is also saying, if it rains, we will stay inside. If it rains, we will stay inside. We will stay inside. And let me just write it without quizzing you guys. The way he writes is agar pani, and this is like different expressions Rupert Snell is using. Agar pani padta hai, to hum andar rahenge. Now I may say the same thing differently, but right now I'm just trying to tell you how it is written in the book. To hum andar rahenge. The key to notice here is Rupert Snell is trying to write the first one, both ways. He said, "Agar pani padta hai, to hum andar rahenge." He tried to write it in the present as well as in future. In the second sentence, he writes it as, "Agar pani padega." Agar pani padega, okay, to hum andar rahenge. So the first one is in future, and the second one is in future. Now, in all honesty, you can write the first one in present as well, but my recommendation is you stick to future and future pattern first. Okay, you master that, and then you switch to the other pattern that will be learning, soon. Okay, so this is another example. First one was, अगर वह आएगी तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Second one was, अगर बारिश होगी और अगर पानी पड़ता है और पड़ेगा तो हम अंदर रहेंगे. Okay, I want all of you to think about something similar. Okay, think about a conditional sentence and write it in the chat. Okay, and I'm going to read all of your conditional sentence. So I'll give you some time, a minute or so to think about a conditional sentence. And I do really want to encourage all of you to think about it and write it down. So at least I get to see what you're thinking. Okay? And if it is hard, I can give you an exercise, so you can all do the translation of the same. The very common one is like, if you work hard, you will be successful, right? If you're having hard time figuring out what to say, you can say, if you work hard, then you can say you will win. How about that? It's easier. Okay. You can use the verb here, mehnat karna, if you want to keep it simple. Mehnat karna. Mehnat karna. So this is just to test your understanding, whether you'll be able to, knowing the pattern agar and to, can you translate the sentence? Okay, so good to see Kelly ji and other folks joining in. Agar, okay, very good. So I want all of you to first finish it up, and then I'm gonna read your sentences. Okay, so Yirka is saying, अगर कल आप काम करेंगे तो हम दूसरे वक्त पे मिलेंगे. Oh, very good. If you're, कल आप, that's what he's implying is, if you're busy, then we will meet other time tomorrow. Okay. Amritesh is saying, अगर बारिश होगी तो मैं नहाऊंगा. Very good. अगर हवा अच्छी है तो मैं बाहर चलूंगा. Kelly is saying, it could be मैं बाहर चलूंगी. Sangeeta ji saying, अगर आप आएंगे तो मैं खुश होंगी. Okay. हो जाऊंगी also, another way of saying it. Vatsala is saying, अगर वैक्सीन मिलेगी और आएगी तो मैं इंडिया जाऊंगी. Well, all of us, right, Sangeeta ji, Vatsala ji, we're all waiting for it. The entire world, I would say. Tarza is saying अगर मैं कल अगर कल मैं बीमार नहीं होंगी तो मैं काम करूंगी. Simona is saying अगर मौसम अच्छा होगा तो मैं बाहर आऊंगी. And Bundevi saying अगर मेरा भाई वापस आएगा तो मैं बहुत खाना बनाऊंगा. Great. And then Ted is saying अगर आप बहुत तेज बोलेंगे तो मैं ध्यान से सुनूंगा. Okay. And then Maureen is saying अगर मैं नहीं पढ़ूंगी तो मैं नहीं सीखूंगी. Great. अगर आप that's a great one. Okay. So she did it, the first one is negative and the second one is negative as well. If the first condition doesn't happen, then the second will not happen either, right? So that's something to learn as well. And then Dhanraj is saying अगर आप घर आएंगे तो हम mall जाएंगे. Okay, I think that's what you're trying to say, right, Dhanraj? अगर आप घर आएंगे तो हम mall जाएंगे. Mall, okay. Mall जाएंगे. Okay, I think that's what you're trying to. I think I had to mute. I had to make Yirka ji a co-host, so you can help me if if you hear any background noise. Okay, so I hope this makes sense, right? Okay, so what I'll do now is so it's good to see all of you were able to at least make progress here. Let me take if anyone has a question, you should be able to unmute yourself and ask me a question first before we move on to the next topic.
I've got a question, Ashu Ji.
Yeah.
What is the difference between agar and magar?
Yeah, that's a great one, right? Agar is, as you see, it's if. Okay. Magar, it's implying but. Okay. For example, if you're saying something and I say magar tum to wahan the nahi, but you were not there. Okay. You can also say lekin or parantu. Typically, we have used lekin in our practice. So, but that's what magar is. It's basically if you want to say but, then you will say magar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Kelly ji, I can't believe you won't have any questions.
I do, but I'm nuts. I'm withholding.
Go for it. Come on.
No. I was just because I was looking at that page. So you're basically advising us, right, that on page 129, he talks about like the likelihood is what differentiates, right? But you're saying kind of don't worry about that for now. Just do the.
I'll cover 3 patterns. Okay. So the first one, so think about the 2 sentences. Sentence number 1 and sentence number 2. Okay. What I want you to think about, like right now, the pattern we covered was the first one is in future and the second one is in the future as well. Right? अगर आप आएंगे तो हम खाना बनाएंगे. Right? That's what we have done. So I want you to first master that. If you feel comfortable, then you should think about if the first one is in subjunctive, and this is the topic we covered in the last 2 classes, right? Then the second one can be in future. Then it's also a legit sentence. And we'll practice all of them, okay? So in case if you missed the last 2 classes, don't feel bad or don't worry about it, okay? We'll be doing a quick recap. Once you do the second one also, then you can say the first one can be subjunctive and the second one can be subjunctive as well. Okay, so, and again, it doesn't mean that these are the only conditional sentences. There can be many more. But if you go by the 80-20 principle, that you want to spend 20% of your time and you want to learn 80% of the sentences, I would first master these. Okay. Once you're feeling very comfortable with it, then you can go by, other scenarios. But initially, that's my recommendation. Okay. I think, you know, you will have much more confidence if you stick with that. Okay. And after that, you'll automatically figure out with some practice, of course, that what to do next. So what we've done so far is this pattern, future, okay, where all the sentences that, and I want all of you to read what other students have written, okay, because that way at least you will see what your other friends are thinking about. Okay. um, just to recap, because some students joined late, we are talking about conditional sentences where one situation is contingent upon or dependent upon the other. Okay. Um, Now let's do the same thing, but this time I'm going to erase this, but I want to make sure all of you write it down. Okay. Three patterns: future, subjunctive-future, and subjunctive-subjunctive. Okay. So now let's do there's not much difference in the first two. Okay. The third one is a little bit wishy-washy conditional sentence. Okay. Where the likelihood is, it's just a very, very little basically. Okay. Um, and it's a little bit wishy-washy sentence, but we'll cover it. You will know what I'm talking about. Okay. So now let's see the same sentence that we covered first. Okay. Which is like we said, agar वह घर आएगी तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Okay, you can see future indefinite. Okay, now we'll try to apply the second pattern, which is make this one subjunctive and the second one is a future indefinite. Now this time I want to ask some of you, and I want some of you to think, how will this change? How will the sentence change? Okay, how will this sentence change? What do you think, Virkaji? How will you say it?
I need a recap because I missed the last class.
No worries. Okay. Let's see. Who wants to go? Sagita, you want to give it a try?
अगर अगर वो घर आई तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा.
Very good. Okay. What about you, Anyashji? What do you think? And it's okay if you need more time.
Yeah, I need more time, please. I arrived a little late. So.
No worries. Take your time. Ted, what do you think? You have to unmute yourself, Ted. And if you also need more time, that's fine as well.
Haven't come up with anything.
No, the same sentence. You have to just
The same sentence. Yeah. Agar va gar aaye to main khana banaunga.
Very good, right? So what you said is, and so subjunctive, just for everyone who missed the previous two classes, all you will do in subjunctive is, it's basically where there's a possibility or your desire is there, right? You'll remove the ga, ge, gi from the verb, and it will become a subjunctive mood. Okay, so you will say the same thing in subjunctive like this: agar vah gar I remove the gi. Okay, तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Okay, अगर वह, I mean, again, I write वह more formal, but as you probably have already familiar with that, like typically on a day-to-day conversation, you will see Hindi speakers saying wo, right? Like the movie Wo Kaun Thi, right? They will not say Vah Kaun Thi, right? They'll say Wo Kaun Thi. But if you read the books or textbooks, you will see Vah, right? So I want you guys to just remember that, right? So Wo you will write like this, and Vah you will write as Va and Ha. Okay? अगर वह घर आए तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Okay? Now I want you to do this thing. You guys should still have the sentences you wrote just now in the chat box, right? I want you to rewrite the same sentence in this pattern. Okay, where the first sentence, it's a subjunctive. Okay, it's not difficult. All you have to do is look at the verb form. If it is ending with ga, ge, gi, you remove that. Okay, and this will make your first sentence in subjunctive form. Okay, so hopefully this helps. I'm going to write you one more example. Okay, which is basically agar, the sentence here is if it rains, then you will stay inside. If it rains, then you will stay inside. Hopefully you guys can still read it. So I will say agar. Typically you write in both of them in future indefinite. So, अगर बारिश होगी तो you will stay inside. तो तुम और आप अंदर रहेंगे. आप अंदर. Sorry about that. I'm gonna be writing very small. आप अंदर रहेंगे. In subjunctive you will say अगर बारिश हो तो आप अंदर रहेंगे. Okay, that's the second pattern. Okay, so let's see how you guys are doing it, and I want all of you to participate. If not, I'm going to take your name and you have to do the in-class participation. Okay, so let's see how you did it. Okay, so Kelly ji wrote अगर हवा अच्छी हो तो मैं बाहर चलूंगी. Okay, Simona wrote अगर मौसम अच्छा हो तो मैं बाहर आऊंगी. Okay, अगर आप आए तो मैं खुश होंगी. Sangeeta wrote यिरका अगर कल आप काम करें, अगर आप तो हम दूसरे ओके तो हम दूसरे वक्त पे मिलेंगे. ओके okay, there's another way of saying it, but yeah, I'm gonna just continue to read first. Bunde is saying अगर मेरा भाई वापस आए तो मैं बहुत खाना बनाऊंगा. And then similarly Vatsala ji is अगर वैक्सीन मिले तो मैं इंडिया जाऊंगी. और धनराज is saying अगर आप घर आए. Okay, so this is the previous one. Okay, Amritesh is saying अगर तुम पढ़ो तो मैं पुरस्कार दूंगा. Very good example, right? If you will study, then if you study, then I'll give you a prize. Okay, so again, just remember that the first sentence is written in subjunctive form. The second one is as it is in future indefinite. Okay, any questions here? Let's take a pause. Let's see if there are any questions.
Yeah, Xavan.
Please.
I had like a sentence that I was trying to make the other day and I was not sure how to do it involving this. So if I wanted to say like, if she can go, then I will also go, for example. I wasn't sure what to do with like sakna, because like, do you change that part, like the sakti hai, or do you change the jana?
Yeah, so let's write it down. Your sentence is if she comes.
Or no, if she can go.
She cannot go. Then I will not go either. Is that what you're trying to do? Then I won't go either. By the way, there are, other than the three patterns, the others are also possible, but I'll try to translate this one. If she cannot go, then I won't go either. But before I give the answer, let me ask what other people are thinking. Taraji, how will you say it? This sentence, and similarly after you, Kelly ji, how will you say it?
अगर वहाँ ना जाए ना, अगर वहाँ जा नहीं सके तो मैं नहीं जाऊंगी.
Okay, that's a good try. Kelly ji, what do you think?
I can't see the board. Hold on.
If she cannot go.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, if she cannot go, then I won't go either.
Okay, so do you want me to do it the first way or the second way? You should the two ways, right?
Do it your default way. How will you say
Okay.
it?
Let's see. Okay. Agar waha nahi sak, let's see, agar wahan nahi sakte sak, agar wahan nahi ja sake, to मैं oh, I can't remember either. It's a B or we or something.
B.
B. So मैं नहीं मैं भी नहीं जाऊंगी.
Okay, very good, right? So if I have to just think in Hindi, Bundev, okay, if I have to just think in Hindi without worrying about the English part of it, so then I will just say agar, and again don't try to translate one on one. Agar वह नहीं जाएगी, अगर वह नहीं जाएगी तो, अगर वह नहीं जाएगी तो मैं भी नहीं, or you can say yeah, तो मैं भी नहीं जाऊंगा. I'll keep it very simple. Agar वह नहीं, so you're talking about, someone like, and the one is contingent upon the other. I'm going to just simply say that. Okay. अगर वह नहीं जाएगी तो मैं भी नहीं जाऊंगा. And of course, there are sentences where you can say sakna, sakta, sakti, sakte as well. But right now, I definitely encourage you to stick with the pattern that we covered. Okay. What did you do though? I'm curious, Bundev. Did you say?
I had just said like well, I was saying it in the affirmative, so not nahi, but I said like agar wo ja sakti hai to main jaunga.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's totally right because we're not supposed to just use D.
No. Let me give you another example of, I know you are trying to see or fit the sakna part. Okay. Let me give you another example. If you can do it, I can do it too.
Mhm.
Okay. The conditional sentence. अगर आप काम कर सकते हैं, or if you can win, I can win too. Okay. अगर आप काम कर सकते हैं तो मैं भी काम कर सकता हूँ. Both are in present. Okay. Both of them, it's one is contingent upon the other. Okay. But here you can see the use of sakna in both of them. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Do you guys think we need more sentences here? Let me know before I jump to the third pattern where both of them are in subjunctive. Okay, or the other thing is like, let's just finish all the patterns and after that we can take many more examples.
So are you just saying, Ashu Ji, to if in conditional sentences to just kind of let go of sakna in these instances?
In this one, you can definitely let go of sakna. Okay. But like the other one where I gave you the example, if you can do it, I can do it too. Right? It's easy. It is, you cannot do that without using sakna. Okay. But in this one, there is, like in English, I can see the need of it. But essentially what Bundev is trying to say is like, if she'll go, I'll go. If she's not coming, I'm not gonna come either. So then there is, I can say it without using sakna, the same sentence. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Okay. The next one is basically, I'm gonna same sentences, but in both the scenarios, you are using subjunctive. Okay. So third pattern, I'm gonna call it third pattern. Both of them are in subjunctive. First sentence as well as in second sentence. This will be a little bit confusing, but the sentence is going to be a little bit wishy-washy where, the conditions are like all up in the air. Okay. But let's practice it. So the sentence was like, if she comes, then I will cook. I'm going to rewrite the first one. Agar वह घर आएगी तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. Okay, that's what our first sentence, future. Then we try to do subjunctive and future. Now we'll try to remove or make both of them subjunctive. So you will say agar वह अगर वह घर आए, अगर वह घर आए तो मैं खाना बनाऊं. So remove the ga. Okay, bana. Sometimes I write you, but you can say अगर मैं तो मैं खाना बनाऊं. Okay, so this is really a little bit of wishy-washy sentence, like why will I cook, which basically is implying why should I cook if she's not even gonna come. अगर वो खाना आए तो मैं, अगर वो घर आए तो मैं खाना बनाऊं, implying that I shouldn't be cooking. Okay, similarly if I can say अगर आप हिंदी पढ़ो तो मैं पढ़ाऊं, like if you come to the class, why should I like even teach, right? अगर आप अच्छे से बोलो तो मैं आपका दोस्त बनूं, meaning that you are, there is the possibility of you speaking politely is very thin, so we'll never be we won't be talking. Okay, so this is let me give you more examples here. Okay, so that way at least it's a little bit clear. Okay, so like if you look at Rupert Snell's example, he's saying अगर जाना चाहते हो तो अभी जाओ, or similarly अगर पानी पड़े तो हम अंदर. Okay, so this one is no. Look at this one. अगर, Rupert Snell is saying अगर जाना चाहते हो, अगर आप जाना जाना चाहते हो, चाहोगे की जगह पे अगर let's do the other one, अगर आप खाली हो, अगर आप खाली हो, and I'll tell you what it means. तो मेरे साथ चलो. I'm gonna just change it a little bit. तो मेरे साथ चलो, which means like if you are available, if you're not busy, खाली हो तो मेरे साथ चलो. Okay, both of them are in subjunctive. Okay, he's not putting ga gegi at the end. Similarly, there's no ga gegi at the end. Okay, once again, try to see if you can make the sentences in the first and second pattern first. Okay, this is like only if you're comfortable and you have a specific use case, then you're gonna say that one. Otherwise it's gonna confuse the heck out of you. Okay, any questions so far before we open it up and before we practice just more and more sentences in conditional sentences basically, and before we even look at other ways of saying conditional sentences. Irka? Okay, I'm not sure if you're there. Vatsalaji?
Sorry.
The question is, does it make sense or is it too hard, or which, if it is, or whether it is making sense?
It does make sense. Thank you.
And let's see if there are people have rewritten their sentences. Okay, so Sangeeta has written, अगर आप आए तो मैं खुश हो जाऊं. Okay, so you see both of them are in subjunctive. Okay, I do want you to give it a try. I do want you to think about how, if you can rewrite your own sentence where both of them are in subjunctive. Okay, and think about how this is changing your sentence. Okay, in the case of Sangeeta, where she wrote, अगर आप आए तो मैं खुश हो जाऊं, the possibility of that happening is like almost basically, very little, right? And that's why it's like written like that. अगर आप खाली हो तो मेरे साथ, चलो. Or similarly, अगर वह घर आए तो मैं खाना बनाऊं. Okay.
So Ashu Ji, so the kind of like the mood then of that third example, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is it like, I don't know if this is going to happen. It just seems really like that, like in that example where it's if you're free, come with me, could be like, hey, if you're free, come with me, or like, well, if you're free, are you saying that it's so unlikely? Is that what? Because then there's some of those other ones.
in my mind, like for example, if I were to, tell you like, Kelly ji, अगर आप खाली हो तो हम मिल सकते हैं, तो हम मिलें. Like, why don't I do the same thing? Like, अगर आप available रहेंगी तो हम मिलेंगे. Okay, that's the first one. Second one is अगर आप where I said subjunctive, अगर आप available हो तो हम मिलेंगे. And the third one is अगर आप available हो तो हम मिलें, implying that I tried it multiple times. I tried it a few times to set up a meeting with you. Okay, but you always been so busy that
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I like those three. That's very good. That's, yeah, I get that.
So underlying tone is that you are always so busy that you're not going to make time for me.
So I guess we have to be careful because it can be kind of a burn, right? If you
It can be, and it can give the impression that, you know what, you don't even care about my request, right? I mean, so hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this example, puts things in order. Yeah? 1 minute and then let's see if the lighting gets better. Okay, so let's do some more examples. Okay, I want to write down some more examples. And anyone else? This was a good question. Anyone else? This is slightly advanced topic, so don't feel like you have to just get it in one class. Okay, and
Ashu
don't.
Ji,
Yeah.
it's Anya speaking. I have a question about Rehena. Why it becomes Rahenge? Why we skip the re sound for Ra at the beginning when we speak in future, for example?
Say your sentence again, Anya.
I don't know if you write, for example, agar barish hogi to aap andar rahenge. It's Rehena, right?
Okay, let me write it down. Agar barish hogi, to aap andar rahenge. Now, what are you saying?
It's the verb to stay, right? Rehena.
There what?
It's the verb to stay. Rehena, no?
Oh, I see your question. So Rehna is to stay. That's right. Rehna
So
is
why
to-
do we say Ra at the beginning of it? Because you did the same thing in the previous lesson as well.
So here it is saying, Anya ji, to stay is like मैं France में रहती हूँ. I live in France or I stay in France. They are together, अंदर रहना, to stay inside. Is that?
Yeah,
is that,
but I'm just talking about the writing, because why isn't it Rihenge and not Rahenge? I don't know if you understand my question.
Rehna versus. I'm just trying to understand why is it.
Because the verb is to rehena, and then when it's future, you write rahenge, not rehenge. That's my question. You see, the beginning of the word is not the same as it is the same verb.
Oh, okay. No, I usually write Rehna. I don't write Reh.
Maybe it's because you translated in
In the Latin.
yeah. I don't know if it's sorry.
Isn't it something like behen? Like we write bahan but read behen?
Yeah, that's my
Isn't it the
question, but
same
I'm not so
case?
sure.
Excuse me, but I think this also in present it's merahtihun, so it's with a, no?
So
I don't know. I'm just questioning myself, because sometimes it's rehena, reheti. We can say rehetiho, but then in future we say rahenge, rahengi, or even in subjunctive we say rahen. So it's.
yeah,
I
I think.
understand my question, or am I weird?
No, it's not weird. I mean, come on. All questions are valid. Like, I will never feel like, what the heck, Andy? I don't. There's nothing like that. So I think, it's a pure verb conjugation. If I hear your question correctly, right? I mean, it's like, how will you say, मैं France में, I will, next year I will live in Germany. How will you say that? Tell me.
Me Germany me hongi.
Okay, you will say रहूंगी. मैं जर्मनी में रहूंगी. Okay, same thing. You will live in Germany. or you will yeah, same thing. You know, you will not say रहूंगी, you will say I will live in Germany, मैं जर्मनी में रहूंगी. Okay, that's how I will say it, like मैं जर्मनी में रहूंगा. I will not say रहूंगा. I think this part probably, you're thinking this is Ray, right? Is that what is confusing you, or you saying?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I need to look into it, but I will not say that. I need to see if there is really, a textbook that is using the Ray as opposed to, like, I have to see whether some textbooks are using this as a verb, rehna, and I think that's what you are saying. Like, why rehna versus this rehna? Is that a fair characterization? Huh?
Isn't it about the pronunciation when you have ha like that in Devanagari? It looks like rahana, but it's rehana because of the ha. Like when I read it in Devanagari, it's rehana.
Rehna. Yeah, I mean that, and I think maybe the pronunciation is throwing you off, Anyashji, right? I mean, because like
Like they write it in Romanagari different than you would say it if you looked at it in Devanagari and you'd say rehana.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a he with a ha sound in it. So
it's all good, right? Yeah. So I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? But basically, I'm going to write 2 more sentences, and then we'll basically open it up for your discussions and more questions. Okay. So some more sentences I have like written down, which is basically I want you to think about what's happening in this sentence. So let me write it in Devanagari. Why don't I do that so that it is a little bit more practice? Okay. Agar. I'm not going to read that again. And for folks who cannot read Devanagari, don't worry about it. This is just to kind of like, okay, so I want all of you, I mean, folks who are good at Devanagari, definitely, read it. If not, then I want, so let's see who wants to give it a try. Who hasn't had a chance yet? Yirka, you want to give it a try? He's like, no, I don't want to. No, go for it.
Maybe next time. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Next time? Okay. Who wants to give it a try?
Can I try?
Yeah, please.
So, agar mag is it Bhagwan? Yeah. To te.
What did you say here?
Is it Jo?
This is chair.
Chahe. Te sub. To or sub. Tik.
Okay.
Ho.
Okay.
Jayega.
Very good, right? Very good. And what does it mean?
Agar Bhagwan chale. If God comes, something so.
Chahe, okay.
So everything will be okay.
Okay, a good try. That's a great try. Now let's see. Vatsalaji, can you tell us how is this a conditional sentence? And what's the form in the first sentence and what's the form in the second sentence?
It's conditional because there is agar and to.
Okay, very good. Agar and to.
And the first part is subjunctive. And the second part is future.
Very good. The first part is subjunctive and the second part is future. Great. Taraji, why is the first part subjunctive? And if you have to say the same thing in future, how will you say that?
In future, I would say Agar Bhagwan Chahega तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा.
Very good, right? अगर भगवान चाहेगा तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा. Okay, so you said both of them you said both of them in future. Let's see. Tarja, you want to give it a try? How will you say both of them as subjunctive? Both of them subjunctive. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, no worries. If you want more time, Tatiana ji, you want to give it a try?
No.
That's brutally honest. Give it a try. Okay, I'll help you out.
अगर भगवान चाहे तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा.
Okay, so all you'll do in subjunctive is you remove the ga. Okay, तो सब ठीक हो
जाए.
Very good, right? Jai. Okay. अगर भगवान चाहे तो सब ठीक हो जाए. Okay. In this case, the underlying tone is like you are cussing even the God. You are saying that, you know what, it's just like, you know, the Bhagwan nahi maan raha hai, or they're not listening. Okay. So the point is like, you know, which I want to emphasize here, like when you come across a subject or like a conditional sentence, just like, you know, how you identify, you know, a tense, right? First thing to notice, like, does the sentence has agar and to? Okay. In English, when you come across a conditional sentence, you typically will see if there is an if and then clause. Now, the key thing to note here in English, sometimes you don't mention then. Sometimes you just omit it, right? If you come to my house, I'll cook. You don't have to say then. Okay. In Hindi, it's the other way around. You don't have to really say agar. Okay, you don't have to say agar. You can say आप घर आएंगे तो मैं खाना बनाऊंगा. You know, you can say that. So just remember that. You know, so if you see agar and to, well and good, that's your conditional sentence. If you not see that, and if you only see if you only see to, that's also your conditional sentence. Okay, that's the way to identify it. Rupersnell gives an example. दादी कहती है पानी पड़े तो बाहर मत जाना. Okay, और दादी कहती है, grandma says, बारिश हो, if it rains, बारिश हो तो बाहर मत जाना. Like don't go outside if it rains. You see, agar is implied there. They don't have to write agar बारिश हो तो बाहर मत जाना. Okay, as simple as that. So that's first you need to, when you see the sentence, try to identify if there is a presence of to here. If there is a presence of to, you know, are there two sentences which are connected with to? First one, and how are they written? Is it written in the which form? Present, future, or subjunctive? Similarly, the second one. Okay. I'm just trying to give you tools so you can break it down. Okay, when you see a longer sentence. And if something is not clear, you can always use formula. You know, if you don't know the word Bhagwan and if you want to know what does it mean, you can use the formula. Bhagwan ka matlab kya hai? Okay, what does it mean, Bhagwan? Okay. Similarly, you know, you can use the other formulas we have to find out the Hindi word for a particular thing as well. Okay.
Well, Ashu Ji, mera ek sawal hai. This last sentence you gave, I'm just trying to grasp the meaning here.
Yeah.
Agar Bhagwan chahe to sab theek jaye. Yeah, that one.
So the expression here is like, this is pretty much used when, you know, and this is a very typical scenario, like you go, somebody's sick and you go to ask for their well-being. Okay. And you will use this expression like agar Bhagwan, like, you know, not just the doctor, like, you know, agar Bhagwan chahe to sab theek ho jayega. Okay. That's what you'll say. If God wants, everything will be all right soon. Similarly, the pandemic situation, right? I mean, everyone is trying hard. And if you want to use this expression, if you know, if God wants, everything will be okay. So that's what this expression really is.
I got it.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? Any other reflection? Was it too hard of a topic? Everybody's
No,
quiet.
no.
Let's ask Simona, was it too hard?
No, this was really easy. I missed the last class, but this one seems quite easy. I was just looking because I saw something in chapter 10, but I will come back in a minute to ask if I find it.
Yeah. So we have like only 5 minutes left. So we'll do a quick, breakout room. And if you didn't feel comfortable asking me the question, breakout room is your opportunity to try to make a couple of conditional sentences, okay, and help each other out, okay, and try to see what other person is thinking, and if you know better, please help them out, okay. And again, there is no obligation. If you have to drop off, don't feel bad, it's Sunday, right? So I'm gonna do quick zoom out breakout rooms for all of you to practice with each other, okay. And I'm going to be coming to help you out in the breakout rooms as well.